my video setting checked in Zoom? Do you
Maybe.
mirror your video?
I don't know. I don't know if I mirror my video in Zoom. No idea.
Do you mirror your video?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know if I mirror my video and Jared and like 10
No
other
idea.
people.
Do you mirror your video?
Oh no, it's happening over and over again.
Because it's looping into your
Okay.
OBS.
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome to another wonderful new segment that we're trying to do slash succeeding. Um, and we're going to call it Zerofox Cafe. Just chatting. Um,
Just chatting.
so today we are just wanting to chat and hang out with everybody, but we do have some topics we would also like to talk about. So, obviously, questions and stuff or contributions from you guys are very important. And we will keep an eye out for that so we can talk with you. But otherwise, we're just gonna do um, our brainstormed ideas as well. Hey, Honor, how you doing tonight? Um, yeah. So, how was the weekend for everybody? My weekend was. It's Monday now. I went to school today. I should know that. Was good. It was good. It was chill. Went to work, had some coffee. Coffee.
Yeah, my weekend was busy as always. Just busy with work. And yeah,
I got
I'm
the
just
alert
excited.
noise, but I see no alert. That's what crud. Well, I thanks for the like or the follow or the whatever just happened. Hey, Groove. I'm good. We're good, Honor. Just also confused.
Always confused.
Yeah, 100% of the time, every time. Um, but anyway, I'm sorry. I totally cut you off, Senor.
Oh
Continue.
no, I'm just saying I'm good. Had a busy weekend at work, and I'm happy to be back home and not have to be at work.
That's fair.
Thank you, Stream Elements. I
Okay, I
mean,
know.
everyone's an alien.
Hooray! Um, I figured out what's happened. Figured it out.
Uh-oh.
I sabotaged myself. Is what really happened. But anyway, so what was the first thing that we wanted to talk about today?
Well, now that we know we're both alive and still existing, um, you want to talk about what we've been playing off camera in the last week?
Yeah, sure. I've been doing a lot of Deep Rock Galactic myself. Um, been really digging that game a lot more than I kind of expected to, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been fun. And I know that oh yeah, school started for you, Groove. Yeah, school started for me last week? Question mark. Um, yeah, last week. I don't entirely hate the idea of school, but it is definitely tough to get back into the swing of things. Can be.
Yeah, it is.
Um, yeah. That's
Well,
there.
I have been playing more Death Stranding. I think I'm like probably over halfway through the game now, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, that, that game is just so relaxing and just fun to play through. Like I could probably just sit down for like 10 hours and play it. It's one of the best like sit on the couch and kind of veg out games I've played in a long time.
Really, that's nice.
I kind of thought that I would be feeling like I need to rush through it so I can start playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and I honestly, I'm perfectly fine just chilling out and waiting.
There it is. Okay. Although it's so tiny. Look how tiny it is. Oh. Thanks for the human's name that I can't read because I've sabotaged myself.
Yay, sabotage.
Yeah, and so Deep Rock Galactic for me has been like I've just kind of gotten into it, and I mean I've also played it some on stream, so you guys have seen some of that. But like I just a lot of like you go out and you get minerals and explore these caves, and then you go back and you upgrade your gear and stuff and level up and do it again.
Yeah, Deep
So
Rock's really satisfied.
yeah, and it's like honestly, it's like it really scratches that like Diablo 2 itch, except with dwarves and in space and guns.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's no loot really to speak of. Like there's like special items that you get to like brew different beverages and get bonus stuff, but there's not like necessarily like gear or loot to be had in the
Yeah.
traditional sense. So that's been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely not a loot shooter.
yeah.
Yeah,
Two
yeah. You streamed it a couple
probably.
days ago.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I've been playing it on and off stream, and the only other game that I've been playing off stream is uh Zelda Link's Awakening on my Switch. Um but I mean I haven't actually touched that in like a week. So anyway, so that's kind of what some of the games we've been doing off stream. Also, I started school last week, and as was just mentioned a couple minutes ago, so that's been kind of fun and tough because I have college algebra, and I just was not necessarily in love with math in high school, and have continued that trend more or less. So yeah, we're just hanging out and chatting. We're not going to be playing any games tonight, Groove. I mean, I might later after this stream, but that'll probably be like an hour or two from now. Um, but yeah, so I mean, that's the current plan. So what upcoming games are you excited for, Jared?
So of course, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah.
like top of my list.
Always,
100% top of my
no matter
list.
what's coming out.
Yeah, yeah, that's just like it's gonna be hard. Maybe if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out with a trailer and that's not a CGI concept from an overworld, then
Yeah.
maybe I'd be. But even then, I don't know. I don't know if Bethesda could do anything to get me more hyped for their game than I'm hyped for Cyberpunk, and so pretty excited for that. There's some new games coming out that were announced that I'm pretty excited about. One of them, I think it might be a candidate for a streaming game, is that new Gothic Knights or Gotham Knights game.
Yeah. No, Gotham Knights looks really interesting. Apparently, it doesn't take place in the Arkham Knight series.
No, it
Um,
doesn't. They actually do have a game coming out in that series, but it is
yeah,
not. It's not. So it's weird because Gotham Knights is the same gameplay and the same art style as the Arkham games, but it's a different timeline. And then they're doing a Suicide Squad game set in the Arkham Knight games, but it's not the same gameplay or art style.
yeah, yeah.
So just DC Universe doing what DC Universe does. So
Sabotaging itself.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, Honor, we have some stuff we'd like to talk about with the remastered stuff and things like that coming up here soon. So stay tuned. But yeah, I know I'm actually really excited for Gotham Knights. It looks really cool. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I love all the Batman games. Like even though like they are one continuous story. Um, like I definitely am pretty stoked for another Batman game because it's just a fun universe really to play in. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And the
I
co-op, it looks like it's gonna be co-op, which is
yeah,
amazing.
that's what I'm really excited about. So if they actually do make it co-op, like that'll be really, 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 really cool because that's one of my biggest complaints about the Arkham series in general is like they've set like maybe not like Arkham Asylum, but like most of them are set up to a degree to like have an element of like cooperativeness that they could have done and they just didn't. And while most of them that makes sense in Arkham Knight, I feel like a lot of that wall disappeared, and they
Yeah.
really just didn't do it because they didn't have the time or the assets, and it wasn't on the original chopping block. But like they have all these other characters with all their various different fighting styles and all the and like so you can go in and play all of them different, and you can switch back and forth. And I don't know, it's just to me it screamed like go get Robin from the movie theater and gallivant around town as two people, but they never did.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I feel like this I feel like Gotham Knights is kind of capturing some of that vision. It'll be pretty fun. I don't usually go into the stories of games that have a story because I want to find out in the game. I don't want to find out before I play the game what the
yeah,
game's
yeah,
about. But it seems like maybe it's in the timeline where Bane has broken Batman's back, and they're trying to kind of establish that there is some type of crime fighting presence still in Gotham. Because they said that effectively Batman's like not in the picture, like he doesn't exist, he's not available,
okay,
like
that's
at
interesting.
all. Not like he's gone, but like he's not
Welcome
there
back,
anymore.
Connor.
And
That's
so I think it might be maybe he fights Bane, gets his back broken, and it's before Robin steps up to take his place, and then someone else steps up. Because there's a big shift and a bunch of like swap outs that happens after that. It's kind of this chaotic period. I think it
yeah.
takes place during that time, which is pretty cool.
No, I'm pretty excited for it. Um, and I definitely don't want to delve too deep into the story, but like it does sound like I was reading an article that said which universe it's in, and I don't remember now off the top of my head. It wasn't the
Yeah,
one that we have linked, but no, I'm pretty stoked for it. And then I'm actually kind of excited for the other game that takes place in the Night series.
yeah,
Um,
the Suicide Squad one.
Suicide Squad. Yeah, if that's done correctly, I think it'll be a lot of fun as well. But I have
Yeah,
literally done no research about that, and I don't think it even has an ETA yet. So,
no, it doesn't.
um,
I think it's got some art concepts, and that's about it.
oh, and Call of Duty Cold War. I have no idea,
Yeah,
Honor. I
they
haven't
just put
played the
out
story.
They just put out a trailer like yesterday or today for it. And yeah, it's getting pretty close. I think it's coming out this um as is tradition with Call of Duty. And
Yeah,
it should be pretty fun. I'm really hoping that I'm really hoping that they have a good zombies mode. Because the Cold War games, I never really or not Cold War, the Black Op games. I was never super big into the story of them because it's just so crazy over the top. But I always love the zombie mode, and
yeah.
so I'm really hoping they bring that back strong. And that might be enough just to make me buy the game by itself.
It probably would be for me as
Um,
well, honestly.
yeah,
Um, Most of those Call of Duties since like the PlayStation, basically, they only provide like 10 to 20 hours of single player play for me, and then I don't care about it. So it's just stopped being worth it. But they are still very fun games. I am excited for Last of Us 2 as well, Groove, but I've actually
yeah.
talked a lot about that. But no, it looks really, really cool. I'm excited to play it. I still have not picked it up because I'm waiting to finish some of my other streaming games before I move on to another one and add another one into the rotation to where I'm
Yeah.
basically playing 20 minutes of every game I own.
Yeah, I'll be picking that up when I get a PS5. And so picking up a few PS4 games that I haven't played in the last couple of years. Just waiting for the PS5. And so I'm pretty excited for that too. Uh, some other gaming stuff. So first off, there are some rumors. I didn't put this in the doc, CJ, but there's some rumors that God of War might be brought over to PC here in the next couple of years.
I've heard about that.
Um,
I've heard some of those rumors floating around, basically because of Horizon Zero Dawn's success and some of the other Sega titles that have come out,
yeah,
um, and like PlayStation titles that have come out are seeing so much success. A lot of them are fighting the bounds that Sony has put on them.
yeah, it's pretty exciting. It seems like Sony's kind of going forward with that. with the idea that they're going to be opening things up for PC release as
Yeah,
well. Going the same route as Microsoft, which I think is amazing because PC gamers tend to not like playing on consoles because you're always downgrading your play experience if you move from a PC to a console. And that's fine if you're a console gamer. There's a lot of things that consoles do really well, like optimizing games for that system, making it really easy to play on your TV, making it really easy to like just, pick up a game and go to your friend's house and play it there.
yeah,
But by moving from the PC to a console is a very kind of jarring experience sometimes for people. And so I'm excited to see Sony kind of shifting into the PC market as well. And I don't think they're going to lose anything for doing it. I think they're just going to gain
I think
because
so
all
as
these
well.
studios are like they're either second party or in-house studios anyway. So they're just gonna get more game sales out of it. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% behind that, and like I do agree that like when the new consoles first come out, there's usually roughly a 6 month period where like the console is better than most computers on the market that are affordable. But that window, first of all, it's been shrinking. It used to be like a
Yeah.
year or 2 years, but like it's been shrinking since like 2009, and is only shrinking faster and faster. I feel like, but um, so Cold War, maybe the US versus Russia. That's what I've heard as well. Groove. Um, and I never played Ghost, so I don't have an opinion about that. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but Um, but yeah, no, I'm real excited for Sony to be moving potentially towards that direction as well because really there's no reason for them not to. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they're literally by a lot because so many other studios are in house, like you were saying. They're really just preventing themselves from getting a whole sector of revenue. So they can only it's only winning for them to release those older games on PlayStation or on computer. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's really good. Also, there's a new Lord of the Rings game coming out, um, centered on Golem, and it is
that's gonna be so
a
weird.
yeah, it's like so it's a vertical parkour mixed with stealth. And that sounds pretty freaking awesome. Like, Golem, it's got like a lot of RPG narrative elements that kind of play on the Golem versus Smeagol aspect. And the storyline is supposed to follow the trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is pretty cool. So you basically get to see what Golem was doing the whole time. And I'm just happy it's not another Shadow of War
Yeah,
game
I really
because,
like the Shadow War games. They're a lot of fun.
yeah,
They take basically all the elements of like the classic fighters like Batman. I forget what that system is typically referred to as, but that kind of system, and like port it and use it amazingly. And I definitely enjoyed what I played of those, but it is definitely one of those titles that, and honestly, like they've all been effectively the same since like the second one.
yeah. And so it'll be nice to kind of play using something kind of similar to that system with the stealthing and things like that and the verticality, but without the combat. It doesn't seem like combat's going to be a main focus at all. And so that'll be really fun, I think,
Yeah, it'll be certainly
just
that
being able
be
to hop in
interesting.
there.
Be definitely
Yeah.
interesting, especially for those people that like stealth games. Like I do feel like there's not a lot of good stealth games anymore.
Hmm.
They had their day in the light, and like there's still the occasional really good stealth game, but like it's pretty much you either make a really good stealth game or it's just nobody knows it and nobody plays
Yeah. Yeah, there really haven't been a lot. Like I know Styx was pretty big, but that was like 8 years ago or something like
it.
that.
Yeah,
There just haven't been a lot of ones that were kind of focused on that. And so if they do it well, so a lot of horror games try to do the stealth thing as well. But for me, like when they mix the horror in, it just ends up being a very slow, like kind of boring game. Like Alien Isolation was too boring. I had to stop playing. And so I hope they keep kind of like an action stealth. And it seems like that's what they're doing with the verticality and the parkour and stuff. So
Minecraft
that'll
2
be
with
pretty
only
cool.
circles. Honor, if you can figure out how to make Minecraft 2 with only circles, I'll back you.
Uh, oh, something else in the news. So Fall Guys is coming to mobile, but only in China.
That's
And
so
so,
weird. That's so weird. Like, why? Why only in China? That's
so the studio is really funny. They seem kind of tone deaf because and the same release where they talked about how they're really happy with how the explosive popularity of Fall Guys. They also said maybe if there seems to be interest, they'll bring it to Xbox and Switch. And so, whenever a game company simultaneously goes, "Wow, we're so happy! It is extremely popular. It's doing so well," and then people are like, "Are you bringing it to Xbox?" And they're like, well, maybe if people seem like they would be interested in it, and it's like, what are you doing, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's so weird.
It's like, how
That's
can you
like
simultaneously talk about how popular the thing is, and then turn around and be like, well, I mean, if people want it on those things, they have to tell it. It's like, I mean, people are telling you buying your game on the two systems it's on, so they'll continue buying it on the other two as well. It's just
right.
such a
Like
funny response.
it is, and you. So many companies do that all the time too. Just various things. But that's so weird that the mobile game is only coming out in China, at least for now. I'm sure that they probably have plans to bring it elsewhere, but that's so bizarre.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of Square Enix. Final Fantasy 15 finally came out on PC, and it was this like big experiment. And they were like, we don't know if it's gonna work. And then it sold really well, and they're like, wow, this is really surprising. And then people are like, okay, so you're putting Final Fantasy 7 out on PC too, right? And they're like, well, I guess maybe if people ask for it, and they're like, well, and then you just go back for the last 25 years
That's what they
of
always do with all their
internet
games,
forums, and there's just millions of people begging them to bring Final Fantasy games to PC. And
right?
so,
Like every single one of their games, they're like, "When's it come out on Steam?" And
yeah.
Square Enix is like, "Computers are
Yeah, they're
outside
like,
of our
"Oh, you want to
office."
play it on a computer? Like the thing you type out documents on?"
Yeah,
So everyone forgets Final Fantasy 7 came out on PC. And I believe Final Fantasy 8 also came out on PC.
all of them now have like
Um,
all the Final Fantasies
yeah.
all the way up through
Oh,
15
I mean,
are.
like back in like the 90s, Final
Oh
Fantasy
yeah,
7 was on PC. And so, everyone forgets that. But yeah, it's silly. It's very strange when game studios
yeah,
try to pretend like it must be that they just don't want to do ongoing support for PC, because you have to do a
maybe.
lot of patch support and
Yeah.
driver development support and stuff. And I think this is their way of
Well, that would
kind of getting away from that.
that could be a good reason. Like I that's all that might be why Square always does this weird thing where it feels like all of their games are running in an emulator.
Yeah.
So anyway, Honor, they technically have already remastered Minecraft.
Yeah,
Um
it's on
they,
it's the Windows edition
yeah, they have the Windows edition, which is the Bedrock edition, or they
with
also have the
RTX.
with RTX, they also have the two different texture packets where it's the wax packets and the high def packets. And
Yeah.
then yeah,
And
so
RTX changes it completely to a completely different looking game.
yes,
It's
it does look
crazy.
quite a bit more shiny, I must say. Um and I don't mean that like literally it's more bright. It's like, shiny isn't neat. Anyway,
You watch
Groove
too
the
much Firefly.
right, seriously. Um Games I've hated. That's actually kind of tough because like usually when just really hate a game, I just never look at it or acknowledge it again.
Yeah.
Ooh,
uh,
Honor's starting to fight with Groove right now. Trash
oh
talking
yeah.
Fortnite.
Honor works for Apple.
Yeah.
uh, No, I don't know what games I hate because like even if I don't like playing a game, I'm usually like, oh, it's just not for me, but it's definitely for someone else. And all games are just beautiful little snowflakes and they all
Right.
deserve to live.
Now, if I could,
Um,
what I could talk about are games that have earned my like, made it so that I don't like them anymore. So, um, like an example of this would be like the Silent Hill series. Like I really enjoyed playing Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2 and 3. And then I played 4, which was the one where you had like the sword and like had to like run from everything all the time, and I was just like,
you
what is
mean
even
you mean the
happening?
Silent Hill where your run direction no longer held? And
Yeah.
so like normally when you have static camera games, like let's say you're running this direction. If you're running this direction and the camera's here, and then the camera switches to here, if you hold down the same direction you're running, you continue running that direction. Well, Silent Hill 4, they decided let's get rid of that directional memory for controls, and what that essentially meant was there were scenes in the game where it was almost impossible to continue because you had to press the opposite direction to continue when the camera changed. So you had to learn when the camera would change so you could change direction. Otherwise, as soon as the camera changed, you would immediately run back into the room you were just in.
Yeah.
And it would create this infinite loop of you constantly going through
And it
these kind of painfully slow loading screens that
yeah,
were like
because it was on PlayStation
half a
2,
second.
right?
It was on, yeah, it's on PS2 and PC. I played on PC, so my loading wasn't as bad, but still, it was very difficult. And yeah, the story of Silent Hill 4 was amazing. And that is the only reason I continued until I beat that game.
Yeah, but so like
So,
but that's a perfect example of like a game series that like I really loved until I hit 4 and then I was just like, I could literally can't play this. It's just everything about it is like just different enough to where it's not the same game series to me anymore. And so instead I just had Jared fill me in on everything so that I could feel like I enjoyed it.
usually, I won't end up hating a game. A game will, if I continue playing a game for more than a couple hours, then it means I like the game. But then what'll happen is the game will end up being like 900 hours long, and I'll just be like, no, I don't have time for that. Like, you remember Manhunt,
Yeah.
the game that made everyone mad because you could kill someone with a Walmart bag? Um,
It's gotten remastered a couple times now or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like Manhunt 2, and then there's a remaster. And I played Manhunt for like 20 something hours, and I was like, man, I got to be really close to the end of the game. And I realized close to hour 30 that I just hit the halfway point, and I was like, no, I'm done. You can't play it. You can't play an action sneaking game for 60 hours. That's too much to ask. And so
Yeah,
Grand Theft Auto
GT.
3, oh man, that was Grand Theft Auto 3 was a game changer when it came out.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was.
pretty fun.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like usually I just try a game out for like a couple hours, and I either play it, keep playing it, or I don't keep playing it, right? Um, and then if I really just don't like it, it gets removed from my library and never to be seen again. So
Yeah.
I honestly can't say that there's this particular game that I just hate. I do think there's a lot of games out there that people haven't given enough chance, like Mass Effect Andromeda is an example. Like I know when it was first
Mhm.
released, had all kinds of problems, and I fully 100% support people for being like, "What the actual crap, guys?" But once all those issues got more or less resolved, it's actually a really fun game. I do think that it gets a little tedious and dry about halfway through with some of these side missions and stuff. But I kind of feel like again that's a side effect of the studio being like, guys, we need this released now
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
being reasonable.
That's the only Mass Effect I didn't play. Because I really wanted to dedicate some time into it because I played the crap out of the trilogy.
Hmm.
And every person I've talked to about the game says, forget the problems it had when it released and forget what people wanted based off of what the studio's vision was, and just play the game for what it is and you'll enjoy it. And I've talked to a lot of people that really liked it like that. And so actually, CJ, do you want to do that middle segment? Um, this one right here, since it's on topic.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah. So, you know, how do you prioritize? Ooh, words are so hard. Did you know words are hard?
Words
I
aren't speaking isn't easy.
No, it's not. I don't know. I don't remember the Minecraft old damage sound. By the way, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that sounds interesting. I have to look it up. Um, how do you prioritize your gameplay and like as far as like, is it fun? Is it rewarding? Like, do you push through till the end if it's not if you're not having fun just for to feel good that you beat it? I'm gonna be honest with you, and like in the last probably 10 years, I don't really push through anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm not having fun, I don't care about it. Um, Partially because like for me, like when I get done with work, wherever that may be, like when I was in Yosemite as an example, I just want to go home and like play a game that I'm having fun with, not struggle through Dark Souls or something.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because when I was so when I was a kid and then even into like my late early 20s, I really value because I buy like one game every like 3 to 6 months, and so a long game that took me like 88 hours or whatever to beat, that was huge because it kind of gave me more value on a return for what I had spent. And
Real
so
quick,
like
Jared. Hold on. Groove, the Among Us, I'm down to play, but we're gonna be playing games like that on Tuesday. It's a party game, so we do party game Tuesdays. We'll be starting on and or before 7 p.m. Among Us is definitely on the list of party games that I have and that we can play. So if you want
yeah,
to play,
7 p.m. Central Time or
yeah,
Mountain Time.
Mountain time, yeah.
Central Mountain Time.
So
Just to
Central
confuse
Mountain
people
time,
more.
yeah. But yeah, so we could play Among Us. I'm down to play tomorrow. We also have Jackbox and a few other party games like Fall Guys. Um, anyway, I apologize for the interruption, Jared. Continue.
Oh, you're good. But like JRPGs were my jam, 100% my jam. Especially in like the mid to late 90s, and then early 2000s, started branching out more to like Western RPGs and stuff. And then Ubisoft started getting into its open world model with Assassin's Creed and a couple other games, and that's kind of where the open world like 60 to 80 hour action game started coming in. But yeah, that was like all I was about. And then honestly, I probably beat like if I'm being honest, I probably beat like 5 games a year now. And so I play probably like 30 to 50 games a year. But I probably don't beat almost any of them. Like I'm pushing through with Death Stranding because I love that game and the story. Hideo Kojima is like amazing when it comes to creating a universe and an environment and a story that goes along with it. And you just want to see it to the end. But like I beat Far Cry 5 and New Dawn when they came out. I usually play through when Call of Duty has a campaign because it's short, and so I know I
Yeah,
can get through it in like a day or two. But yeah, like not a lot of other games I've really actually finished.
that is the advantage of those. A lot of those like Call of Duty type games, right? Is where they have like the 10 to 20, maybe 30-hour tops storylines that you can like work through a couple hours every day after work or whatever. And then
Yeah,
when you're done with that, you don't have to necessarily go out and buy a new game. You just do the multiplayer, and you have a lot more gameplay. Um, so I mean, I totally get why people love those games. I'm not one of those people that love those games. I like them; they're okay, not in my love list. But anyway,
yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of the same way. Like I will definitely pound out a game as much as I can for like until I beat it and then it's done, right? And I love playing as long as I'm having fun. That's what it really comes down to me. As long as I'm having a good time with it, and it's like I'm thinking about it while I'm at work, or like, oh man, I wonder if I tried this or that. And that's what like kind of Arkham series has done for me. Is like I've always enjoyed going back and playing it. Actually, um, I think it was Arkham City was the one that I got about halfway through and I was like, you know what, I'm just not having fun with this anymore, and I moved on to Arkham Knight. Um,
yeah,
and I did miss out some on some story stuff, but like I kind of knew everything that happened. Like it's not necessarily an unpredictable storyline. Uh, and I think I did beat it once because I came back to it, but it's all about but like, and then you have games like Dark Souls, like, and I did buy I forget which game it was, but it's one of the games kind of like Dark Souls. Um, we're just gonna say it was Dark Souls, and I'd played some of that, and it was fun for a while. I really loved the environment and the art and the like feel of the game. I thought it was really interesting and fun. But the dying over and over again just so that I can go back and like get more blood shards or whatever, and then like it's just I was like, why am I doing this? I'm basically they've just recycled the same level on me in order for me to beat it. if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I'm just like, why? That's dumb. Like, you have 10 levels total or whatever, probably more. I don't know. I stopped playing. But if they only had 10 levels and I have to play every level 5 times, you know?
Yeah. Dark
So,
Souls is kind of one of those games where you kind of have to make a choice, I think. As so if you're a gamer but you have a busy schedule, I think you kind of get to a point where you have to make a choice on what value you find in your game. And Dark Souls is one of those games where, if you're a gamer that likes to play one game at a time and you like to play through it until you've completed it and then start the next game, Dark Souls is great. It's a great game for that because you like Dark Souls, you have player progression. Where your character levels up and you can get crazy high levels in your character and you can go super deep into customization, but it also has player progression because most of the actual skill in the game is you, the player, getting better at the game. And to really do well at Dark Souls, you really have to put some time into your skill and get that discipline built up. And if you're the kind of person that likes to just play one game at a time or likes to prioritize one game, then Dark Souls is really good for you. My problem is that I see all these other games that I really play, and I'm okay playing a game for like 5, 10 hours, even if I don't finish it, if I enjoyed the game. If I feel like I got value out of that game, I'm okay with that. And so Dark Souls is kind of one of those games where I really enjoyed playing Dark Souls and I really enjoyed Dark Souls 3, but I didn't finish either games because I got to a point where I was like, all right, I've put about 30 to 40 hours into each. And I'm not near good enough to like beat the game yet. And I also want to see other stuff and get items and it's like, okay, well, like, am I gonna skip playing the next Far Cry game so I can finish Dark Souls, or am I gonna play the next Far Cry game? Because I can either play Dark Souls and Far Cry, or I can finish Dark Souls, but I can't do both. And
yeah.
so, I hit stuff like that, and I'll usually choose to play more games because that's how I get my enjoyment.
Right. So
And
the
then
new experience, is a lot to be said about the new experience, right? Like,
yeah, and it's
um,
pretty rare that I push through like Death Stranding. I could quit Death Stranding now, and I pretty much have gotten the gameplay part of the experience out. But the story is so well done, and Hideo Kojima's direction on the game and how that story is told is so well done that I want to play through it. Almost just like every once in a while you get a game where like Naughty Dog will do this to me. Hideo Kojima games will do this to me where I feel like I almost owe it to the team that made the game to finish the game for them because they've done such a good job. I feel like they deserve for me to dedicate that time to it. Um, you know, uh, CD Projekt Red games are like that. I'm sure I'm going to play Cyberpunk at least once all the way through, if not 2 or 3 times. That's probably going to be my next Morrowind. And so,
yeah. So
and
I totally agree. Like, right. Like, so there's a lot of games though that like, and I definitely think that the Batman Arkham series as a whole falls into this a little bit, and a lot of games do, like including Call of Duty. There's a certain, there's definitely a certain enjoyment in getting like really good at that game. And if you're
yeah,
there to get really good at Call of Duty, or really good at Batman Arkham Knight, or really good at Dark Souls, because they are skill-based games, with very different skill sets each, then that's what you're going to do, and you're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of that. You're going to feel really good about being in the top 10,000 of Call of Duty, or even higher, or whatever. You're going to feel really good, um, going through Nightmare hard mode on Batman and beating it, because honestly, it's crazy hard on Nightmare hard mode, because one punch like kills you. Um,
yeah,
um, and the same with Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a very challenging game just right out the gate, and that's kind of like, it definitely turned me off, because I was just like, I don't have the skill set to play this game. I don't know like its tricks, its in and outs, and I just want to enjoy the story. It looks like it's a really
yeah,
interesting story, and I don't necessarily want it to be handed to me on a silver platter, because that's a misconception I feel like a lot of people make. I want there to be a challenge. I want it to be, like, but I also don't want it to be so insurmountable to where I stop having it. And that's for me where that line starts getting crossed, because um, if I play through on easy because I want to see what's going on, then if I enjoy it enough, I might go through on normal or hard because I'm like, well, now that I've gone through the game and I have some understanding of like what's going to happen and slash how to play really well or semi well or whatever, now I can challenge myself and go to hard mode, right?
Yeah.
Have I ever played Madden? I played the first Madden game on the Sega Genesis, Honor. I am older than Madden. Not the person. The person's older than me.
Yeah, John Madden's much older than us, but no, Madden games were the way to go.
And still are. They're still very high quality. Um,
Yeah, that's one of the things I feel like who does Dark Souls? Is that From Software?
I
I
don't
think does
remember.
Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And it's something that they do really well, and it's something I think a lot of other companies kind of miss is like From Software, if I'm getting that right, when they do their games, they are difficult because there is like part of the game is you seeing a progression in your own skill and understanding of how the game works.
Yeah, and sometimes
And
it can be
that
kind of
progression,
it can be hard to see that you're progressing and getting better, right? Like it can be
yeah,
like that you can look at your metrics and those can tell you sometimes, but it can still like you haven't gotten better, even though last time you did this level you got 50 points and this time you got 100.
yeah.
Like
And it's one of the few times that player, the personal player progression of online multiplayer gaming, like competitive gaming, it's one of the few times where that's actually transitioned correctly to single player gaming. Because that's essentially how like CS:GO and Call of Duty and Dead by Daylight and Fortnite and Warzone and all these like these different online competitive games, that's how they work. They work off the principle that you, the player, get better. And then as you get better, there's some stuff that happens in game. Some games it makes it look cooler. Some games it maybe makes it play a little bit easier. Call of Duty, you can level up your weapons, get better attachments and stuff like that. But if you're good at Call of Duty, the stock M4 with no upgrades is going to be deadlier than some guy with a fully upgraded kit that isn't as good as you. So, uh, that player progression that makes online games really satisfying, uh, kind of translates really well in the Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro and a couple of the external ones like Dead Cells and stuff like that. But a lot of game companies just try to make things hard for the sake of it being hard because it makes the game longer. And those games I immediately quit. I will be like, all right, I want to play it. If I'm interested in the play it easy.
yeah,
And if I'm not interested in the story, I'll uninstall and I won't even think about it again. And so
Divinity is kind of like that. Like honestly, like its steps between like easy and normal and hard are like pretty intense. And if you started off like doing like hard mode for whatever reason, you'd like jump in and you'd die like almost basically instantly. It was like it's kind of crazy.
yeah,
Um, but that is pretty crazy honor. SpongeBob's Patrick is getting his own show. Did you know that's
I did know it, but I think it's
yeah.
because Honor told me.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I even looked it up to confirm. I was like, is that real life? I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna be like a bad spin-off. I'd probably check out a few episodes to see how they're doing, but like that's weird because I feel like Patrick is in a lot of episodes. So like, is it gonna be before he met SpongeBob? After like, like I don't know how that's gonna work. It's interesting. Gonna take some really creative writers, I think. We'll see.
Anything's possible.
Right? After all, they're just ink blots, right? um, but yeah, no, I definitely enjoy beating a game that's difficult for me to learn and play, right? Like I'm having a great time with Rocket League as an example, and I would not say that I'm good. I'm not bad either. I mean, I'm definitely better than if I handed it to like my 8-year-old niece as an example.
Yeah.
Because she's not really a gamer, and also she's just not really a gamer mostly, so it should just be terrible. But um, hello, Rick Astley. Um, if you could change your name in my Discord as well, that'd be great. um, but I don't know. So I definitely love beating a hard game, and I'm trying to think of a game that I had a lot of trouble getting to the end of that I beat that was like super rewarding. And I kind of I want to say it was like right now all I can think of is Warcraft 3, and I didn't even have that hard of a time with it. Um, gosh,
I think like Dead Cells was really challenging. It was fun to get to the end. But honestly, I can't think of anything current that is both difficult and I like played through to completion because most difficult games are either really well done, like the Dark Souls series, but I just don't have the time to do it,
yeah,
or not well done, so they're not fun, and I just don't play them. So I think of like older games back when I did have the time to do that, and that
yeah.
was you know, like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, some of the PlayStation RPGs, end bosses
You
like
know,
Legend of Dragoon
Legend
and
of
stuff like
Dragoon.
that.
That's actually the one I was about to say. Legend of Dragoon, I think, is probably one of the hardest JRPGs that I played because there was so much actual skill in the combat versus
Yeah,
it went beyond just like okay, well now I'm going to heal this turn because my health is getting low. Now I'm going to go on the offensive and now I need to up my mana again. And, it went beyond that because there was a lot of like the action buttons they
yeah.
introduced in that game, which was way before they did it in like most of the other games.
Yeah, it was way
Um
before QuickTime events was the
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And so um it was really cool and really hard. It's a bit buried a little bit on the character you were playing too, but like I remember having a lot of trouble with that game, but it was like such a cool world and so fun to play that I pushed all the way through the end.
Mhm.
Um, I think some of the BioShock games have kind of done that to me too, where I've had a lot of
Yeah.
trouble getting through certain portions of it. And I just had to get good basically. But they were so fun that I and relatively short playthroughs, despite having some spots where I was having difficulty. That it was fine. And so I don't know, like the it definitely happens, and it's definitely a great thing. But like it's weird because right, like for me, for whatever reason, when somebody says is that game hard? I ask myself, well, have I played it? Yes or no? If I have, then did I beat it? And if the answer is no, and like one on some level, I want to say that it's too hard.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not necessarily that the game's too hard. It might be that I just lost interest, or that I just, you know what I'm saying? It's weird, but I don't know.
And
It's
sometimes it's like I think almost when it comes to really difficult games, I would prefer to play 'em with another person. Like I remember I played Halo, oh geez, which one was this? Halo 3, maybe?
Herb.
Uh with my neighbor. And we played through on legendary or whatever it's called. Um, the hardest difficulty setting. We played through the
Yeah.
campaign together over like a 1 month period of like an hour every day after work. And so, that's like we probably put like 20 hours, 25 hours into it, playing the campaign co-op and legendary mode. And that was fun and that was challenging. And but I wouldn't have done that by myself. That sounds absolutely horrible. I
Right. Well,
think
it's a
almost
it's
like
it's kind
oh,
of
sorry.
different. No, you're good. I'm interrupting you for the record. uh, it's kind of different when you play it with somebody else, right? Like you're gonna play a lot of those games you wouldn't necessarily have a good time with. So like, for me, like League of Legends is a great example. Like by myself, I hate playing League of Legends. I hate it. It's the worst. But, like, if I can play with, like, my group of friends, like Fang and, like, say if you played or, like, my buddy Russell, um, when we played together, like, it was a lot more fun. Even though there's only, like, 3 or 4 of us, we were still getting randos and stuff, like, but it was still a lot more fun to be playing with a couple buddies, even though the challenge
Mhm.
was really high because I was not necessarily great at those games. Um, but, I learned and did get better, and it was easier to continue because, like, I could vent my frustration with my friends.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a huge element to be said there, even if it's a single player game. Even if you're passing the controller back and forth. I know you and I have done that way back in high school when we actually lived semi close to each other.
When we lived in the same time zone.
Yeah, yeah. um, but like I can't think of any. No, actually, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a great example. Like we've passed the controller back and forth on that one. Like depending on whether or not we failed a level or completed a level even,
Yeah.
and it was a great time. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other games that I'm just not thinking of. But
A lot of RPGs we did that.
yeah.
What was that? What was that one game on the PS2?
Oh yeah, Legaia or
Legend of Legaia.
yeah, that was a fun
Yeah,
game actually.
did stuff like that. That was fun. I almost think, thinking back on it. So I got rid of my PS4 a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just been playing on PC since then. And so one of the things I've noticed is that one, I don't give a crap about Steam achievements. I could not care less about Steam achievements. Like I'll get an achievement, it'll be like, "Good job, you beat that level." I'm like, "Shut up! Like, why are you popping up on my screen? Like, I
Right?
don't care."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know you, but I was the polar opposite on the PS4 and on the PS3. I was such a trophy whore that I rent games that had like platinum trophies that were easy to get. And
That's
then
funny.
if a game was something I liked, so I would play a game, and if after an hour I was like, okay, I want to play this game till I beat it, like if I had that thought, I would go look up the trophies, and then if it was like, oh, one of the trophies you have to play it on hard, I would restart the game on hard, and then I'd play through and get all the trophies. And I probably the majority of the time I played single player games on hard mode all the way through to completion was because of PlayStation trophies, and that's why I had so many platinum trophies. And so, in a weird way, that's like one of the things that really prompted me to like go and do that. Um, and so it's really funny. Now that I'm on PC, I don't have that drive because I really don't care about Steam achievements. There's nothing for me there. Just like I don't care about Xbox achievements because they don't do anything. Like the trophy system is so different because you get a platinum trophy and they're actual trophy tiers. And so you get like an actual trophy instead of just like a little thing saying you have an achievement. And so those trophies are each tracked individually by their tiers. And then on top of that, you get a platinum trophy for getting everything. So no other game system has that in their setup. I think Xbox finally had something where you got like a little special thing if you got all the achievements or whatever, but it's not really, it's not really the same. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of one of those things that's like kind
Right.
of stopped motivating me for that.
That's funny. That's really interesting. I like I could take or leave most of the achievements and on all the systems. Honestly, like they're kind of fun because one of the things that they've added to the Steam achievements that I actually really like is the percentage of people who have.
Hmm.
So like out of the people that own the game, like who has this trophy, and that's something that I've actually kind of been drawn to recently with the Steam achievements. I don't know when they added that because I just didn't pay attention until one day I saw it. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's really bizarre because sometimes I play some weird games, right? Like, and you start the game up and you'll get the achievement started the game up. Only
Yeah.
32% of players have this, and I'd be like, what?
Those always crack me up because that's something that came from Sony. Is that was something the trophy system always had, and I always laugh because you'd have like a game where you play the in order to play the game, it's like you can't skip it or anything, and you'd beat it, and you'd be like, you beat the tutorial. 60% of gamers have this, and it's like, how can like you literally can't? So you bought a game you've never played it other than starting the game up because you have to start the game to install the trophies. So they don't count unless you start the game. Just owning it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, like, so it's like 38% of gamers have started the game and then 2 minutes later turn the game off and never played it again.
yeah.
It just makes no sense.
Right, right. They're like, actually, you know what? I hate this. But you haven't even gotten to the past the menu screen. Yeah, but I hate it. Okay.
Yeah. You're like,
Um.
I don't like that font.
Well,
Goodbye.
Honor, you're gonna be there when I get famous, so you'll get credit. Um. But yeah, no, I think I really like it, but it is a really funny thing because I've totally started games up or gotten achievements, and it's like, how do only 34% of players have this achievement? Like,
Yeah.
What? What's going on? Like, and it's only counting the people who own the game. So it's like some people have these like really good games, like these AAA games that they just never started up, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Mass Effect or like freaking what's that other one? Dragon Age on computer. Like I feel like that's one of those games, specifically those ones that everybody played on console, right? But then like a lot of those console players eventually grew up because they're my age group, right? And they grew up and got a computer, and now they have a computer, and that's where they play their games because a lot of people move to computer. That's just how it is. Um, and but they so was like, oh, let's sell these games, and sure enough, they sold like bread, sliced bread, but nobody started them up because they were like, oh, I already beat it. I just want to own it on a computer.
Yeah.
And
It's like it came in a bundle. They're like 15 games, sweet. And they're like, I only want one of them, but I'll take the other 14.
yeah,
So
yeah, really funny. But anyway, I miss the Lego games. Oh, aren't they still coming out with Lego games like once a year, basically like Call of Duties?
I know they just came out, or they are soon to be coming out with a new Star Wars one.
Yeah, I do really like the Lego games. The few that I've played have been a lot of fun, and there's something really satisfying about like beating up the bad guys in the Lego games and having all the Lego bits fly everywhere, and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know when that new Lego game is supposed to come out. You want to find that out for us, Honor, and we can share it with the world.
Lego games are funny. My favorite Lego game I played through with Jordan. I think we got 100%. Yeah, we got 100% on it. Was Lego Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
And that is the best made Lego game, and they tried to kind of recreate it with the Jurassic Park series one, which was horrible. I mean, it was still fun because Jurassic Park, but like it was so cheaply made. Like it was so clearly cheaply made. Like the
yeah,
audio was ripped from the movies, and it was like low quality with like
that's
static and stuff.
interesting. Huh.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Uh,
The Batman
and
Lego games are all pretty good too. Like I've played a couple of those and
yeah.
they're a lot of fun. Like they're definitely showing their age because they were among the first. But
Well, see, the Lego one, and actually, it might not be. No, it was Lord of the Rings. It was definitely Lord of the Rings. But the Lord of the Rings Lego game is like almost pretty much unlike any other Lego game because you actually have an overworld, and it's not like a small overworld. Like you have a full size overworld. And so like the game is like it's like a non-linear RPG, basically.
it just says coming
Um,
out in 2020. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gonna probably come out right around Christmas and or sometime next year at this point.
yeah.
If they don't have a date and it's already August, it's either coming out at Christmas and they're still going, shh, it's gonna come out in Christmas, guys, or it's gonna come out in 2021. But that'll be interesting to see because I've heard a lot of good things about the Star Wars Lego games as well, but I haven't played any of them. But the Batman ones I have played and they were really good, but they came out in like they were some of the original Lego games to come
Mhm.
out.
Yeah,
Um,
Batman, Indiana Jones,
yeah,
the first Harry Potter one.
I haven't played the Lord of the Rings Lego game, but I have heard a lot of really good things about it.
It's so crazy good, and it's all co-op, because it's Lego.
Yeah,
But it actually plays like a non-linear open world RPG.
yeah,
And
interesting.
so it's really crazy good. And we played like 5 or 6 Lego games together. And the Lego, I think it's the Lord of the Rings. We have the Hobbit and we have Rings. That was so well done. The Hobbit was pretty good too, but it wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings. But yeah, it's just so crazy good. I'm looking at it on Steam now. One of those two they took off because of some kind of licensing conflict, and I
Oh,
still have it because
interesting.
I own it. It's like I will fight you, Warner Brothers Games, if you try to take this away from my Steam library after I paid for it. But yeah, it's really, really well done.
Yeah. No, I don't know how many characters are going to be on it. It depends on how they make it, how they do the game, I guess. Like, but we'll see. I'm excited for it. I like Star Wars and Star Wars games in general. So, and I've heard a lot of really great things about the Lego Star Wars just in general.
Yeah, because it seems like they are redoing the entire they're not just doing the Force Awakens. like a continuation of that. I heard they were like basically redoing the whole
I
9
heard
movies.
I heard they were gonna reboot the entire franchise again. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, because there's definitely sources on both sides saying no or yes, respectively.
Well, Disney has definitely come out and said that they are considering redoing the sequel trilogy,
Yeah. I
like,
mean,
actively in talks with it. The Lego one, by the way, though, it is all 9 movies. They're redoing the whole Lego series.
that'll be cool. No, it'll be interesting because like if they do decide to redo the Star Wars, especially the last three movies, I don't even think the last three movies were like inherently the worst or ever or anything like that. They were good movies in their own rights for various reasons. They were also bad movies in their own rights for various reasons. But I do think that the a couple of them definitely didn't do the franchise any favors. Um,
Yeah.
like the whole jumping through the big spaceship to destroy it was super cool. It was also a garbage move because
Yeah.
like you literally just got out of a drone war. Like why didn't the drones just literally jump through spaceships? Like you could have just had fighters equipped with jump drives and taken out every star destroyer ever. Like
Yeah. It was so lazy. The sequel trilogy is just cut and paste the original trilogy with different
yeah,
people and
which
worse dialogue.
which I don't entirely hate that it's the same basic like story arc, right? I don't entirely hate that. Like I do think it's lazy and I do think it's an obvious like we're trying to appeal to you move. So whichever CEO or VP decided that was the way to go, you should lose your job because it's not the director's fault. But
Yeah.
um the director lost his job instead, because that's how that goes. But anyway, I don't know.
Honestly, I think after seeing The Mandalorian, I think they should just give Jon Favreau the helm and redo the sequel trilogy
Yeah,
because he has consistently
great.
done so
Just
well with his
just does
writing.
so great. Yeah. And he just has the feel for like what is going to work and what isn't, right?
Yeah.
Like and the Mandalorian, like honestly the Mandalorian is kind of like what Firefly was, right? Like as far as the flavor goes, like it's such a head on direct hit of like that western feel with that sci-fi. And if Disney does reboot the franchise, I really hope they keep the Mandalorian, and I really hope they just basically write off like most of the last three movies because
Yeah.
they were fun movies. I really enjoyed them. They were good to go to the theater and watch and have a good time with. Um, but that's about the nicest thing I can say about them. There's a lot of criticisms to be made. There's also a lot of cool
Yeah.
things that could be talked about. But anyway, um, yeah. So there's a lot on the internet right now. If you have searched graphics card in your search bar at all in the last like 2 months, you've seen an absolute absurd amount of news about
The
NVIDIA and
most
AMD.
ever. The
Yeah.
most leaks ever.
Yeah. Yeah. See, they better make a movie about Boba Fett or whoever it was coming back from the thingy in the ground. I forgot about. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. So
Yeah, Boba Fett. Well, so there's a huge catalog, like a huge library of books that talk about all that. And the first thing Disney did when they bought Star Wars was they said none of that stuff exists anymore.
yeah,
And
so
so
no, they did it even weirder. So they did it so that none of that stuff exists, except that it does.
but it doesn't.
But it
But it
doesn't.
does.
Exactly. So they basically made it so that all the book canon and everything that wasn't basically the movies and like a select few video games um were demonetized and quote unquote legends, right? So it was basically the rumors around the bar or the rumors around the fire. Those are the stories that were told in the universe about all this other stuff that supposedly happened or did not happen in the universe. So
Yeah.
um that which meant that they could really just take whatever they wanted and reuse it in however they wanted, instead of having to come up with all new stuff, which is actually extremely clever because now you can lay all kinds of Easter eggs and just like nods to legends without ever actually making any of it canon because you're like, oh, that's just a legend. Um, so pretty clever stuff. Also a little bit crappy, but I get wanting to do that when you're trying to reboot a franchise, but then they botched the reboot effectively. So like, guys,
Yeah.
um, anyway, and it's all going to look better than ever on the new NVIDIA and AMD graphics cards.
This is very true. Nice segue. So
um,
like so with all the leaks coming out for NVIDIA and AMD, like I had to Google it today just to make sure something didn't come out in the last 24 hours. And of
right.
course something has come out in the last 24 hours. Uh
Okay, so I
so
I literally haven't looked since like 2 days ago, and here's what I remember.
oh,
Right.
you
All right.
freaking like
I'm basically
Neanderthal.
right. So here's what I remember. Like, so NVIDIA is going to rebrand their entire naming scheme to, I think it was like, um, what is it like? They're going to do the 30, it's going to be the 3060, 3080, and 3090 now, or something crazy. And then they're upgrading the RAM to the next level of RAM, so it's DDR6 or 7 now. I don't even remember because it's always a couple generations ahead of what's actually on your motherboard, right? And 5 is about to come out on the motherboard. And then um and it's the new Nvidia graphics card is supposed to be the most powerful ever, 30% more powerful than the 2080 Ti, which, like, okay, we'll see. And but AMD is basically saying all the same stuff right now. And unfortunately for these two companies, AMD has the track record of being like, guys, we're really cool, we promise. We promise. And then when it comes out, they're like missing a lens from their sunglasses. They
Yeah.
left their scarf at home. They forgot one pant of their legs somehow, like, Um, so we'll see. I'm excited about AMD this time around though, because we do have a lot of new and better leadership in AMD as a whole, even though the graphics card segment is run technically separately from its core business. It still gets a lot of oversight from my understanding. So but we'll see. We'll see. What do you know, Jared? What have you found out in the last day or so of searching by the sounds of it?
So so we still don't know 100% what the line is going to be called for NVIDIA. There was a leaked image of what we assume is the 90 series, which is going to be basically replacing the 80 Ti series.
Yeah.
And that thing's freaking
Right.
massive. So
Right,
they have a
because they're
picture,
I'm sorry, because they're getting rid of the TI,
yeah,
like
that
like
moniker,
that moniker, right? So they're just gonna add a new number. So instead
or
of having
reserving it.
yeah, or so instead of having like the 2080 Ti, it would be the 2080 and then the 2090, from my understanding. I could
Because historically, TI is like so you'll have your graphics. Then 8 to 12 months later, they'll revise that line of graphics cards with more streamlined technology, more efficient manufacturing, and the card will be better. And that's the TI. And so you had the 5050, there were the 550, and then like a year later, the 550 Ti came out. And if you compare the two, the Ti was always the more powerful, always the more power efficient, and always the more optimized version of the two. And with the 10 series, they kind of did a weird thing where they came out with the 1080 Ti, and people were like, "Oh, okay." They're like, "Wait, it's the 1080, but it's the upgraded version." Because they didn't want to fraction and have too many numbers, I guess. And then with the 20 series, they continued that 2080 Ti, but then you know 8 to 12 months later or whatever, they came out with the Super, which is what would have been called the TI before. So I have a feeling they're just being like, hey, let's get this like naming thing under control. Let's just call them all numbers, and then we can have instead of calling Super efficient rebranding of the same card, the TI maybe. We'll see. They might stick with the Super too. But yeah, this new card, the 90 series, is absolutely massive. The same, it's like you're gonna have to have a huge case to
yeah.
fit this thing in there.
So I mean, I don't know how like it is. So most graphics cards are 2 slot, right? And like some of the older ones, or when they remake an older one, like with newer technology, it becomes 1 slot. Um, but this new one, the 3090, is a 3 slotter, and so it's that means it's going to be like a solid 3 inches thick, basically.
I, and I think the 2080 Supers are three slaughters, and the 2080 Super and above, because I think our Supers are three slaughters as well, but they don't sit like 2 inches above the riser screws
Yeah,
on the mounting bracket.
yeah. So these are you're gonna have to have a large mid size to like full case. um, some people put sugar on their spaghetti. I like my spaghetti regular.
Depends on how you make it. If you make it from scratch, you have to put sugar if you don't
It's
want the
true.
acidity of the
Tom-
tomatoes.
Tomato sauce actually just has sugar in it, so everybody put
Yeah,
sugar on their spaghetti. Congratulations.
it makes it good.
Yeah. Where I'm from, they put barbecue sauce in their spaghetti sauce.
Which is funny because barbecue sauce is already spaghetti sauce
Yeah.
with brown sugar added to it. There's so many layers.
Yeah. Anyway, fun
Uh,
tangent. Uh, but yeah, no, this new card looks massive. So it's instead of being roughly like 4 inches in width, you're looking at like closer to like 5 to like almost 6. It looks like in this
yeah.
picture, and then instead of like the normal like I would say like 8 to 12 inches in length, it looks like you're gonna add another like 2 inches on top of that range. Um,
And then just two sets of heat sinks with two fans, one on each side of the board instead of two alongside them on one side of the board.
yeah, and that's really interesting because some of the leaked material says that the back fan anyway goes all the way through, like the airflow goes all the way through rather than being an exhaust.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, it
that'll be
pulls it through the heat sink, and it seems like
yeah,
maybe it's pushing through like an area around the central processors or something.
yeah,
Maybe we'll have like a ringed cluster instead of an array.
yeah. So we'll see. I'm really excited about it. The naming scheme thing sounds about right because the super is confusing. I don't know why I find the super so confusing, but I do, right?
Yeah.
Because with the 10 series, right? You have the 10 doesn't have a super, does it? I don't think
Nope, they started the Super with the 20 series, and that's when it got weird.
yeah, so they and the 16 series, I think they did a super too because I had a super. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I don't know. I actually don't know if the super is better than the TI on the 20 series. Um,
They're both different because they didn't do a 2080 Ti Super. And so um it kind of I think they just got a little off. I
yeah,
should also mention the picture. The It's the presumed 90, which is basically, you know how like people will buy Titans and put it in their gaming PC,
yeah,
but then Nvidia's like, you could totally do that and it'll crazy good at 4K or even 8K, but they're not like gaming cards. So the
yeah,
90 is not a gaming card. It's like a professional, like commercial level card. And it's there's gonna be another card probably. There's gonna be two 90 cards, I think. There's gonna be a baseline and there's gonna be another one that's got like 30 gigs of GDDR RAM and stuff like that. It's something crazy like that. And
yeah.
so and those are kind of because NVIDIA's brand to the AI and um, like 3D modeling industry as well. And so those seem to be kind of geared more towards that, but you could totally play Cyberpunk at 300 frames per second at 8K or whatever,
Well, and
with it.
the
So,
problem with them not being quote unquote gamer cards is that the drivers aren't optimized for that, right? Like even when I
yeah.
installed my 1080 Ti, the installer prompted me and was like, "Hey, are you doing gaming or are you doing like some kind of like development or something?"
Yeah,
And
it
I
because they have different optimization sets depending
yeah,
on your usage.
so that was really interesting, and like yeah, so that's gonna change how it runs just at a baseline. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm really excited about AMD's new tech, and one of the reasons, or I'm sorry, Nvidia's new tech. Nvidia. We're talking about Nvidia 2090 or 3090, whatever. Words
Well,
are
possibly. That's
yeah,
another thing.
yeah, right. Um,
Another thing that has leaked recently is it might not be a 3000 series card. They might be the 21s. So there's some like numerology going on here. But NVIDIA kind of released a cryptic message about
oh
like,
yeah,
all the mystery and the stuff behind the 21. And actually, the number 21 is kind of special. So it's been so there's a 21-day delay between the 21 message and the GeForce reveal. It's been 21 years since the first GPU came out. It's been 21 years since the first GeForce graphics card, because it was the same year as the first GPU. I don't know if it was the first one or it just happened to be coincided with it. Um, and so the let's see here. The it was a GeForce 256, and the 256
Yep.
times 21 equals 5376. You add them all together, that's 21. And the Navi 21 is really, and the 21 is the specific competitor with the next line of NVIDIA GPUs. So there's like this weird numerology thing where it just happens to randomly all coincide together with this one number. And so there's a good chance that they might actually be the 21 series. So it'd be like the 2160, 2170, 2180, 2190, stuff like that.
That's
And
interesting.
so they might do that instead of the 3000 series, but we'll have to wait until the event coming up here in a little bit
Yeah.
to really find out.
So honor the. I didn't know that the whole of Last of Us 2 was supposedly leaked. I had no idea. That's interesting. Is that real? Is that real life? Um, I mean, it'd be impressive to leak an entire game like that, although it has certainly happened. Um, but yeah, no, that's really interesting. I knew some of the 21 stuff, but I didn't know that it quite went as deep as this. So that's really interesting. I wonder
Yeah.
who put that all together. That's pretty deep.
It's the one with
Um,
the brain that works better than mine.
right? Better than mine as well. Um, huh. I'm really excited for the AMD side of things though. Like none of this news from like Nvidia like surprises me. Like I'm excited for it, right? Like I'm stoked for it, but I'm kind of excited for AMD and all of AMD's rumors personally, partially because I'm kind of a little bit an AMD fan, I'm not going to lie, but mostly because I'm excited that they might actually be able to compete this time. Like they might actually be able to go blow for blow with the top of the line graphics cards. And they've already shown kind of what they're capable of a little bit with their 5700 XT and their 5700 line, which was for the price point better than any card on the market, right? At least at the time of release. Um, you're going to get the most bang for your buck for buying that card as of when it first came out, like what 6 months ago now. Um, RL is Rocket League is free tomorrow. Yeah, I heard it was going free, which I'm disappointed about because I just bought it like not that long ago. But oh well.
You're the reason, CJ.
Right, exactly. I am the curse. So I'm really excited to see if their new Navi cores and their new stuff, their new architecture can keep up with the big boys, so to speak. Because AMD definitely has this problem where they are good at implementing technology and are good at developing their hardware, but they've just been consistently behind NVIDIA. Even back in the day when they were able to compete punch for punch, NVIDIA was able to take AMD's like implementations and hardware and implement it better in like coming iterations. Because there's a lot of AMD technology in that AMD was like, no, we made this, but we're gonna release it for use to the general like graphics card community. And Nvidia was like, cool, thanks, and just went profit on it basically. And that was way back in the day, so I don't know. There's nothing like that recently, but so I'm really excited for the new Navi stuff to happen and see where it takes us because it really does sound like they're actually going to be able to outprocess the new graphics cards potentially, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be better because Nvidia has all of their like dedicated cores, which makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. So even if the AMD card is pumping out, say, 3 times as much processing power, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be able to keep up, but it's still a great punch in the face. Like, it sounds like for the first time in a hot minute that AMD will be able to give Nvidia a bloody living beast.
Yeah. And also, so there's been so with COVID still going strong. It's if anything, it's probably going to be getting stronger, much stronger if the numbers are to be believed, and it definitely seems to be that way. And one of the things we see from that is economic. So AMD has been using 7 nanometer architecture on its chips for a while now. They have very good market purchase in the 7 nanometer realm, especially with like TSMC. And so one of the things that he is actually having trouble getting chips produced at 7 nanometer market because they've had to basically split between Samsung and TSMC because AMD basically has like all of TSMC full up between the Ryzen cards, all the console graphics cards,
Yeah.
and then their AMD graphics cards as well. And so it's just gobbling all that up. And NVIDIA is kind of having to like split production between two different locations now
Well, they're
to
not the only
try to get
ones,
chips
right?
out.
Intel's
Oh yeah,
actually
lots of other ones.
Intel's having the same actually a worse problem. They're really screwed because they're three
Yeah,
generations behind now,
yeah,
and
they're in 10 nanometer now, I
yeah,
believe.
and they're actually talking about just skipping over 10 because they've had so many problems trying to get that going.
Yeah,
Um, so anyway, little tangent. Continue, please.
and so we might also, on top of just all the new cards coming out and competing, we might also have supply issues on NVIDIA's side. But we could be surprised. It kind of maybe that's part of NVIDIA's plan on having so many different lines of cards available. So hopefully it won't be as much of a bottleneck because there'll be a wider range. Now, another thing that's going to come out that might be really contentious for AMD is I wouldn't be surprised if AMD releases their cards at almost the same price point as NVIDIA. Because we saw this back with the Radeon 7, which came out, what, $20 cheaper than the 2080 for a kind of comparable power.
Yeah,
And so that was one of the things people were really complaining about. It's like, oh, AMD's the company that's cheaper. Why are they charging the same amount? Because I mean, $20 at that point, if you're paying $700 for $20, is not really that much of a saving. To go with AMD, AMD was one that you spent like a couple $100 less. And so a lot of people are speculating that the AMD cards, at least the high end ones, might be the same price as the NVIDIA cards.
and
And that might cause a lot of fractioning too.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like if they're the same price and with similar or the same performance, I wouldn't even really care personally, at least
Yeah.
personally. But that's the thing is
At
like
least if they
the
got their performance up, that'd be good.
yeah, exactly. But the 5700 series was what, like 350 when it first came out, and I think it ranged all the way down to like 275 if you were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Um, the that's comparable performance with the 1080, which is
Hmm.
still a very top of the line card. Um, like it's like point for point. I think the 1080 beats it technically by like 1% after all the averages are taken and stuff. But
Yeah.
like, so the it's interesting because like it is the 5700 is technically a top of the line card. It's just not as strong as the 20 series. Um, so I'm really excited to see what AMD has to offer coming up. But that's the problem, right? Like I was describing before, AMD is totally that guy that's like when you're talking to him on the phone, he's gonna show up and he's gonna make the party because he's showing up with 12 pizzas and 12 crates of soda and all this stuff, and he gets there and it's like two sodas and a slice of cold pizza. Um,
Yeah.
you know.
He shows up asking you where the food is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you're like, "But you were the one bringing that. What? I don't know what just happened." Um, so we'll see. I'm excited, but I'm like trepidatiously excited. Like, let's see. Um, but yeah, their new RDNA architecture, RDNA 2, right? That's the big Navi. That's the one
Yeah,
that's supposed to
RDNA
be.
2.
That's the one that's supposed to be in the new consoles, right? Your
That's
RDNA
the one
2.
that's in the new consoles. And I think this is going to finally be the real showdown where you question, do you just want brute force power that AMD provides, or do you want specialized technology for different applications that NVIDIA supplies? Because on paper, the AMD cards, if AMD is is correct, if they're telling the truth about it, which is again is not necessarily like historically the case. On paper, the AMD cards are more powerful, but that's because half of NVIDIA's card is dedicated to ray tracing and AI applications, and that's not included in their power analysis. So you're looking at half. So when AMD says, "Oh, we've got like a 60% increase in power over NVIDIA," it's like, okay, well, you have a 60% increase in power over half of the NVIDIA card. You're not even factoring in the other half of the card, and then it really comes into a factor that
So
that
like the
other half of the card going to be optimized towards improving gameplay.
yeah, yeah, and like the different uses of it and stuff like that. And so
Yeah,
far, we've seen some of that with like some of their dedicated hardware and like RTX voice and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's only
and
time
ray
will tell at this
tracing.
point. Yeah, only time will tell at this point. Honor the new Spider-Man. You're talking about the movie, yeah? Um, the one that comes out in 2021. I don't
Or the
know.
new Spider-Man game that comes out on the PS5.
Yeah. Um, the movie I'm excited about. The game I like the Spider-Man game. I was played a couple hours of it, and I'd love to get back to it, but I just haven't been able to really sit down with it. Okay, the game.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it on PlayStation Now, and it was fun. It's definitely one of those games that if it came to PC, I'd play, but it's difficult to justify such a big open world game um, without having like a serious amount of time to drop down into it.
Yeah, no, and so yeah, from like the Spider, I'm looking at it now. So, um, Miles Morales, the next adventure in the Marvel Spider-Man universe. According who's
Yeah,
this? Insomniac Games.
the game looks really cool.
It does look super cool. I This is the first I'm hearing about a new. Well, I did actually see something a couple days ago. I feel like, or a few days ago, but I didn't. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll read that later because I was doing something, and then I just never got back to it. I mean,
Game
if
looks
it's
really cool. I think they're basically building on the first Spider-Man game, which
yeah,
is always kind of when you have a really good formula like the first Spider-Man game.
yeah,
I think just improving on it is kind of a good way to go.
which is like what the Arkham series did, right? Like,
Yeah,
for Batman, and that's what I was about to say. If they use even 3/4 of the system from the Spider-Man game that's in the next room over here that I still need to play, um, then I think it's going to be a great game. Um, Especially if they add some new, fun, interesting things. I'm That sounds really exciting. Actually, I will have to look deeper into this. Um, Again, I do kind of feel like it's one of those series that could be really neat if you could have a partner drop in and out, but like it does make less sense in Spider-Man to have that kind of interactivity because Spider-Man's always been pretty much the solo hero. He's like the epitome of the solo hero. They even offered him a spot on the Avengers a few times, and he every time he's like, "Nah, brah."
yeah,
Yeah, I did see that message that the Rocket League people who bought it some free items. It sounds like I didn't know that. That's seems pretty fair though. It's the least they can do, right? Um, but we'll see. I will show off those items probably tomorrow if we end up playing that. Tends to be the game that happens at the end of the night. Seems like. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm One thing I would like to see the Spider-Man game do a little bit more is a little bit more of the sneaky sneak, stealthy stealth. But a little bit I did play. I had a really hard time doing this sneak stealth stuff. Um, because there's just you don't really get an indicator of what can see you or anything like that, and um, I don't know. It'll be really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more news on that. That sounds really interesting. And either way, it's going to look great on the new graphics
yeah. I'm
card.
excited for the PS5 just in general. It's really bad because I'm not really tracking a lot of the new PS5 games that much. And so I'm just excited to get it because I've been waiting to play these PS4 games until they either came out on computer, like Death Stranding, or until the PS5 came out because I've like slowly over my life I've developed a really bad like frame rate sensitivity where I get like physically ill if something is not smooth on the frame rate. And when I had the PS4, most games ran 60 FPS. Some games ran between 30 and 60. Hey, you have a good one, Honor. And it just kind of made me like it just gave me headaches and like a lot of nausea. So I've been waiting to play a lot of these PS4 games until the PS5 came out because I knew the PS5 should be able to run them at 60. It's like, come on, Sony. Like a console should be able to run a game at 60 frames per second at 1080 by this point. This is kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous if they
Well,
can't.
and like slowly but surely, those all the consoles are just becoming computers. Like
Yeah.
really, like you really saw it in this last generation where like they even came out with multiple versions of computers.
Yeah. The
You know, like,
Pro, the Slim, the all that stuff. Yeah. And so I'm kind of behind on the PS5 games that are coming out just because I only have so much memory to like keep up with all the different games coming out. So I'm just focusing on playing some of the older ones that I want to play. Um, and so I'm looking here though. There were a couple games I can't remember what the name of them are now though. But looking, let's see. Looking to see if I can find just a straight list instead of like one page per title.
right.
Because the Spider-Man one definitely looks cool. I want to play the first one before I play the one with Miles in it, just because it's hard to play a sequel and then go back to the original.
Yeah, no, I had
Um,
that's the problem I had. I played Arkham Asylum, and then I skipped all the way forward to like the game right before Arkham Knight. Um, which I want to say was Arkham City.
or Batman Origins.
Maybe it was Origins. It was one of those two.
There
And
was
then I
one that I completely glossed over between
yeah,
City and Night.
yeah. But like either way, like I basically got to Night, played Night, and then like tried to go back and play. It was either Origins or City, and was just like I can't do this. Like I'm missing mechanics. Like I'm missing things that just completed the game, and now I
Yeah.
can't.
So I'm definitely excited they'll be playing this on PC, Bloodlines 2. I don't know why I keep forgetting to put that down. Jay, are you tracking this?
What's that?
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2?
I haven't really looked into it, but yeah, you've mentioned it a couple times.
So Bloodlines, the first game, it plays exactly as Vampire the Masquerade. Like it's a insanely well done game that actually plays. It's like playing like if you it's like playing like the Pathfinder Kingmaker RPG, like how it plays true to the Pathfinder rule set. Bloodlines does that, but from a first person perspective. And so Bloodlines, my only problem with Bloodlines is it's so hard to play because it's so old. And it was so poorly supported that the community had to make a community patch, which is now
Yeah,
it's the official, unofficial patch for the game is the community made one because the studio couldn't even be bothered to fix all the problems that made it so it didn't work.
I
And
do
so
remember
the
that.
like yeah, like you play Bloodlines, you have to download the community patch to play it. So Bloodlines 2 is amazing. I won't be playing it on PS5, I'll be playing it on PC. There's Deathloop, which is the next game from the studio that did Dishonored and Dishonored 2. And the premise just seems really cool. You gotta kill, you're in a time loop, and you gotta kill 8 different targets, but you keep like looping back through it. And then there's also you can also play as a person trying to take down the main player that you're playing and through these storylines. So and that studio did really good. I didn't Dishonored 2 was just really boring to me, so I stopped playing it, but I loved the story and the setting. It's just the gameplay
Yeah.
was so boring. But
Dishonored, like it was weird. Like the first one, I remember playing, and I played it, and I had a really great time with it, and then I felt like I beat it, and it was supposed to be one of those moments, like, oh, but the game's not over yet, kind of
yeah,
feels, and I on it like for some reason that totally lost me. Like I don't know what it
yeah,
was, what they did, but like for whatever reason, like I just totally could not get back into the game. And it was weird. Like, because I really enjoyed
yeah.
it up until that point. Like, I was having a great time, and then I got to that point and was like, "What?" Anyway,
No, I
continue.
totally feel you. Dishonored 2 has a really bad problem because like the game tells you it's supposed to be a sneaking game, but then it plays as a action-oriented first-person shooter. And it's
Okay.
like, okay, well, but then the systems are all built around sneaking. But then the game plays as a first-person shooter. And it's like there's just a disconnect and it's just always jarring. And I like it's I have a really hard time with sneaking games that limit your perspective and make you just sit for like 3 minutes to wait for someone's walking loop to finish so you can get behind them and stuff like that. It's just very boring to me. But I love the story of Dishonored 2. It's why I played as long as I did. Um, and so I'm excited to see them come out with a new game. It sounds very cool. And
Yeah.
new Assassin's Creed. That's gonna be out on PS5. Of course, I'll play that on computer. Um, I didn't play Odyssey, the one set in Greek mythos. It looks amazing. From everything I've heard, it is amazing. It's just when I view an Assassin's Creed game, I'm like, do I have 50 to 60 hours to put into this? Because I don't like stopping an Assassin's Creed game halfway through. Like if I'm going to
Yeah.
put that much time into world exploration, I really want to dedicate it. And Ubisoft, for everything you can say about the company, the games they put out are fantastic. Their Far Cry line is fantastic, Watch Dogs is fantastic, Assassin's Creed is fantastic. All these games, and they're all the exact same game with just different action mechanics. But like the game itself is basically the same. But you just really have to dedicate a lot of time. And so usually I'll have like one big game I play, and then I'll play a bunch of other games throughout that. And that's why it takes me a while to get through a big game. And so I usually have like a queue of big games that I want to play. And that's definitely in my queue.
Yeah. No. So the Assassin's Creed games are really interesting, especially the most recent one, right? The Odyssey, the one that's in Greece.
Yeah.
There's literally, if you like push really hard to complete all the various different stories and DLCs, and like not necessarily like complete every aspect of the game and like find every item or whatnot, but like just the story stuff, it's like an easy under 100-hour playthrough, like an easy hundred
Hmm.
hour playthrough.
Same with Origins too.
Yeah. So like, whereas like in Origins, I think you could blow through the main storyline a little faster, but it had a lot of other stuff going on. I could be wrong
Yeah.
about that. I've
A lot
only,
of this stuff wasn't required in Origins
yeah.
to do.
But I've only watched my sister play most of both of those games, right? Like, she's beaten Origins, I believe, and she's pretty much beaten Odyssey at this point. Whereas I'm just getting going. Like, I just got away from the third area of the world, and it's again one of those games I put down and haven't been able to get back to because there's only one of me. And did you know that I can't play more than like one game at a time? It's really lame. Disappointment.
It's like, remember that there was a Penny Arcade comic about that,
Yeah.
like 30 years ago, where he's like, who the hell's this kid? And he's like, oh, he's getting through Halo 3 Legendary for me, so I can say that I did it.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's like taking notes so he can fill him in on it. No, that's how it feels though. It's like I think we just finally hit that age where that's how it is.
Yep.
We've
I,
hit we've hit
I mean,
first 5 years penny arcade age.
w- I mean, honestly though, like I've always kind of felt that way, like about games, because like even sitting on the farm when we'd sit around the PlayStation and play Final Fantasy 9 back to back until we got the playtime down to like an obscene 12 hours or something stupid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the Final Fantasy 9 speed runs.
yeah,
Like, hey, we woke up early today. You want to beat Final Fantasy 9 today? Sure. It's
yep.
like
Um, and to like losing a summer to Morrowind, like I loved doing that, but at the same time, it was like, well, but I could also be playing the new Unreal whatever, or I could be playing the new, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. There were so many RTSs back in the late 90s, early 2000s that I was always wanting to play this new RTS. And there were so many Western CRPGs that just never got a chance. And there were all the hybrids, Disciples 2, when we figured out how to get that by hooking by doing a phone line cross cable. between modems and having direct cable access and stuff like
Hmm.
that to like to co-op through that and stuff. It's just there's never been enough time to get through all the games. And that was true 20 years ago, when there was like 30 games a year. And that's true definitely now. There's like 300 games a year.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially when open world is like the way to go because you get more playtime
yeah, and
for your development.
well, you also get a lot more ability due to the newish archetype of like being able to add more content to those games, which I love.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing because like could you imagine if when we were sitting around Morrowind 25 years ago or whatever it was now, if like halfway through the summer, like a whole new DLC got added to the game and we're just like sitting there playing and all of a sudden we have this all this new content? Because we'd
Yeah.
pretty much beaten the game by that point. We were just like running around exploring and finding new things, right? Like
Yeah.
and some of us were getting turned into a vampire and then finding the in-game cure because all the online resources were wrong.
Well, and that's what was fun about Morrowind. Like you had the expansions. There was the first expansion that added that city, and then a bunch of quest lines throughout the world. Which the only reason I didn't play it is because my quest line got bugged, so I literally could not play it without restarting a new character. And then there was the what was it, Blood Moon, with
Yeah.
the werewolves up
Yep.
in the northern island, and that was really fun too. But yeah, no, I can't imagine what it'd be like now, where you have your 12-month expansion release cycle plus like a bunch of other like monthly in-game events that are ongoing and stuff like that's just the standard now,
Yeah.
and it's so difficult to pull away. Plus multiplayer online game, like back in the day, play Quake 2 on play like
You cut
play
out
the
you
last shooter.
you cut out really hard on that part, but yeah, like I totally get what you're trying to say. I think whereas like you had these shooters like Unreal Tournament as an example, where they had their standard 10-15 maps, right? Like
Yeah.
and those were fun and interesting, and especially when you're playing against people you didn't know, it could get pretty bizarre. But and once you learn those maps, you learn those maps, and that was it. Like
Yeah.
but now, the game companies are doing that whole releasing new maps all the time. It really increases the like. There's a lot of reasons why, like in gaming, we're kind of in a golden age. But there's also a lot of reasons why, or in my opinion, we're also not like in the golden age that we deserve per se. But like there's a lot of things to be said that supports the argument that we're in a gaming golden age because we're always having new content for the games we love. We're always getting new AAA titles. There's at least a solid new AAA title like almost monthly. Not to even talk about all the amazing hard work that all these like independent game developers do on some games that like honestly go underappreciated and or do get appreciated and blow up overnight. You know, so it's a great time to be a gamer, guys. So welcome to gaming.
Yeah. It's it kind of goes back to that thing where like when you don't have content, any content is good. I remember when Netflix first launched online streaming, everyone said they were crazy for even thinking of doing this. And Netflix was like, no, this is going to be the future. Like, you can just watch a movie online. They're like, why would you do that? Just get the DVD, put the DVD in. You don't have to like have it on your computer. Like, no one wants to hook their computer up to the TV. And I was like, done. But um, like, how else am I going to play Super Nintendo games on my TV? But it's, Netflix was like considered to be crazy for trying this out. They had
Well, oh, just lost Discord connection. Oh man, but everything's fine otherwise, right? Like Discord. Okay, are we back? Nope, can't hear Jared now.
and I watched like eight
Oh,
of them.
there it goes. Nope, maybe I don't even know anymore. Are we back this time?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're back.
Okay, that's like the fifth time that's happened today, where it just like rapidly disconnects and reconnects.
Yeah.
And I'm just along for the ride until it's over. But like the stream didn't get interrupted. We're still live everywhere. Like I don't.
Yeah. It's
But yeah,
weird.
no, I remember because like Netflix made waves everywhere when they did that, like literally everywhere, right? Because
Yeah.
they not only were they setting a new paradigm where like, oh my gosh, I can go to this place that's official for me to get this streaming stuff. You don't have to go to some like backwater site where you're going to get every single virus under the sun. Um,
Yeah.
and then not only that, but they were making waves in the financial sector because all the finance guys were like, "Oh, you're taking on the likes of NBC, Fox, um, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, on down the list." And they were like, "You guys are insane. You're not going to be able to do it." But it's the same thing like what Tesla's doing right now to the car industry. They're taking on Ford. They're taking on all those guys, and they're winning.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
winning.
the thing with it is like, back then you only had like a small selection, so you watch everything and it was all great. And that's how video games were. And now we're kind of to go back to what we were talking about, finding what you value play and when a game is good to keep going, when a game is good to quit. It's kind of like that now, right? Like there's so much content out there where it's easy to fall into the trap of being like, oh, I can't play everything. But really, what you should be doing is calibrating what you want to experience and play and then doing it.
Yeah.
Um, like there's so much like Netflix. There's so much Netflix content. We've got a watch list like 50 titles long,
Yeah.
and we're never gonna even watch them all. Like it's just there because we're like, oh, that looks so cool. But you can find 5 things in a 10-minute search that look really good to watch, and it's like, okay, well, that's 10 hours worth of content. You don't have that time. Um, and you got to make sure you're calibrating your expectations to where you're not feeling upset that you aren't experiencing something else. You have to spend your energy enjoying the experience in front of you,
Yeah.
rather than spending it hunting for a new experience.
Right. No, like
And I mean,
and I totally feel that because like I'm definitely one of those people that I really I like a lot of different types of video games.
yeah,
But I think my go-to genres are definitely like turn-based strategy and strategy. Not
yeah,
necessarily that I'm good at them, it's just the ones I like, right? um, and I also love like the RPG stuff, but like which is the worst to like because then you're jumping 60 to 100 plus hours into these RPGs and you don't get to go play like Call of Duty as an example. And that's kind of that's why I don't play as much Call of Duty as like Final Fantasy 14 or Final Fantasy whatever, like any other RPG, like even Inquisition, Dragon Age or whatever, because I'd rather go play Dragon Age Inquisition than Call of Duty because I'm going to have a much better time doing that. And I
yeah,
guess you definitely put into words more what I was trying to say when I was like, I just want to play a game to have fun. I don't want to play a game that's like too hard or like frustrates me too much. Like not to say that I don't want to play competitive games. I got really good at StarCraft 2 for a hot second. I was in like I made it to Platinum League before Diamond League was a thing. Granted,
yeah.
I was there for all of like an evening and then I wasn't there anymore. But but I can say I
But
got
still, you
there.
made it. Yeah, you made
Yeah.
it to top tier, top level competitive. But and it's like, that enjoyment you get. Uh, like I'll give you an example. Have you ever played any of the Division games?
I feel like I've played one. But I haven't. No, I don't think I have. Sounds really
Um,
familiar. Maybe I was talking to my buddy Wes
it's
about it a whole bunch. I think that's what it
it's a
was.
Tom Clancy series.
Yeah, Tom Clancy.
And the
That's right.
Division, yeah, the Division 2. Is that on your radar even slightest?
It has definitely come up on my news feed. That's the most
Yeah.
I can say about it.
So like the Division 2 has a massive, massive ongoing community of people that play it. It has had multiple expansions. It has had episodic content, downloadable content. It has had online events. It was rated between 8 and 9 out of 10. Basically, every that has any type of pull. It was given a ton of awards, or nominated for a ton of awards, I should say. And this is a game that,
Are we good now? Nope. 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 This is 7 times, 6, 7, something like that. I don't know. Um, up, up. Technical difficulties abound. I'm just restarting Discord real quick. And look at Jared. Jared's still talking, just happily chatting. Has no idea. Poor Jared. He's making up a story about his cat now. Up, am I back now?
Yeah, you are back. I was just moving my mouth.
I suspected that was the case. I told everybody that you were telling a story about your cat, but
Well, they know one of us is a liar, and that person is you.
hopefully that'll fix it. I just closed and reopened Discord because after the final reconnect, I just nothing was happening. So I was like, cool, close. Anyway, go
But
ahead.
yeah, like Division 2 has this huge community of players and all this content. And the only reason it's even on my radar is because someone in a podcast that I listen to plays the game. Like that's literally the only reason. I've never played one of them before. I knew about it because I kind of most games that come out, but I didn't know anything beyond it's another game
Tom
that's
Clancy.
probably really fun. It's
Yep.
probably great, and I'll probably never have the time to play it. There's three categories of games. There's games I'm never gonna play. There's games that I'm definitely gonna play, and then there's this huge stretch in between of games that really look awesome that I want to play that I probably never will get the time to.
Yeah.
And it's definitely in that middle stretch. But like that's a great example of like that's the age we live in now. There are games that like you might have heard of before because someone said something about it one time, or you saw something pop up on like GameSpot or something, where they're like new release. Oh, it's nominated for award. Oh, new DLC. You're like, okay, yeah, it's that game. But like there's this term called like somner, where you realize that every person out there has just as full and varied and complicated and intricate of a life as you do, and like every single person you see on the street is living a life that is just as complex as yours. And that's kind of we're at that point now with gaming. Like every game kind of has their own community of people, and like there are gaming biomes out there of people, these whole communities that we don't even know about, that are just as vibrant as like Rocket League, and stuff like that. And when you talk about the golden age of gaming, that's kind of how I feel that we are now. We're at the place now where there are so many different spectrums of really enjoyable, engaging games out there that there are groups of thousands or tens of thousands or millions of people playing games that you don't even know exist.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. Like I think that's awesome because it's very,
And,
like when you
and yet they still have not come out with the type of strategy game that I want to play. Like not a good one. Like there's a certain genre of strategy game where you are the general, but you are also the one of the units on the field, and not necessarily a hero. So you can like zoom out, you do a whole bunch of RTSs things, and then you zoom in on like one of the units and you play as that unit. And I've always just thought that would be a really cool, fun, interesting concept. And there's definitely been a huge array of games that have tried similar things, right?
Yeah. Brutal Legend, Giant Citizens Kabuto, stuff like that.
But they've all done this like, or most of them, because I haven't played those two, but like a large majority of them have done this thing where it's you take the role of a hero, and then when you zoom out, or sometimes that person is a dedicated RTS player. So sometimes they just have a player who's the RTS player, and then you have like a field of players and NPCs, and you're RTSing that field, and issuing like quests and stuff. There's a few games that do that. That's the closest I think that they have come to like a game that I think would be super cool. I think that game is super cool. But I don't remember what it's called anymore, because honestly, when I was playing it, it was super OP for one of the factions, and that faction just always won by default, basically. But then there's but a lot of those games they do like Warcraft kind of did this too, where you had the one hero in the army, and you controlled the one hero, but you also had all the RTS units. But again, you're like, cool, I'm taking the role of this hero, but I only get one view on the hero. I don't get to like scroll in and like really first person it. And I think it'd be really cool if they could just do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then it would be really neat if you had friends to where you could have, hey, I'm gonna jump into RTS mode so I can like direct these AI units over here, and then I can hop back into like my gunner, which is just a generic gunner, just like you play in Siege or Division or Deep Rock Galactic or all these games with that like set build, that set class. I think it'd be really cool. So while we're in the golden age of gaming, there's still all these really creative and interesting and new quirks to the games that I think could happen and have yet to find their place. Because I really think that's a winning. I really think that concept is a winning like equation, but it has to scratch the right. It has to be done right, or it's just bad, and
Yeah.
nobody likes it because like the great thing about that RTS is like then I could play with like my buddy Wes, who's not really into RTSs. He could just play the gunner sergeant or whatever,
Mhm.
and he'd have a great time doing that. And then I could play with Jared, um, who Jared and I could probably switch on and off with the RTS mode and be perfectly happy while also being perfectly happy in any of the other roles. It's a really interesting concept and it could be a real win, but either the studios that is making it has been so small with such a small team that by the time the game gets even playable, they're out of money, or it's just not done from my experience.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's definitely been tried. Like I think Universal Soldier tried that. Um and or maybe it was Universal Combat or something, whatever it was, where you could be a person on a spaceship, you go to the bridge, you fly the spaceship, you hop into a car, you drive around, and then you could drop down onto any planet. It's all generated. You could like zoom out from your person and like instruct building and like troop management and like hop into anyone else. But that game was one of those games where everyone was like, "Oh my god, amazing thing ever!" It, I never 30 minutes of it because it was so janky. It
yeah,
just never worked. But I think RTSs are going to come back. I see a big rise in strategy games. I think it's going to happen. I think there's a nostalgia factor with strategy games that they keep teasing with not Call of Duty, with Command and Conquer. And I think Blizzard just completely bugging out and leaving the realm has kind of created this massive hole that we don't have StarCraft, we don't have Warcraft, we don't have Command and it's like it's gonna happen. Something's gonna come out. People are gonna be like, "Holy crap, this is a cool game. I've never played a game like this before." It's like, yeah, it used to be really common, like 10 to 20 of these a year,
yeah.
and now there's like zero. I think the
Well,
last big like publicized one was Ashes of the Singularity or something like that, and that
so
was years ago.
yeah, and I think some of the problem with that too, though, is like StarCraft and Warcraft really did kind of nail the equation on the head, so to speak. Like there are definitely other ways to do strategy games, but as far as like the micro strategy, like I build my buildings and I control the individual units, etc. Like StarCraft and Warcraft definitely kind of like is the summation of that. Like there's not really anywhere
Yeah,
to go from there. And there's other styles of RTS games that could be improved and played as well. Like the Command and Conquer series, all that stuff. But again, like there's only so many ways to like put that equation together, right? And I think
yeah,
that's kind of the problem that these games are having because like you can introduce a fun, interesting new mechanic, but like it's either gimmicky and trash or gimmicky and never really well balanced and therefore trash. You
yeah,
know? um so I don't know. We'll see. The game that I was thinking about though is called Savage. It is apparently now free. It's the free real-time strategy shooter for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Um, www.savager.com. So Savager, I guess. No, Savage, yeah, Savage. I don't know, Savage XR, SavageXR.com. I don't know.
reading so hard.
The X was like blending into the E for my eyeballs. It was really special. And I was like, "There's another letter there. What's going on?" Anyway, so this, from what I recall, and it's been a second since I've looked into this game, there were three factions. You had like the human faction, the beast faction, and like one other one. And the beast faction at the time, if they just rushed their like huge giant unit or something, you had no response. There was no response from anybody else. And this was like 8 years ago or something. I'm surprised this game is still around, to be perfectly frank, because the community was so small. And from my understanding, it was like one guy who had a lot of money basically supporting the project. Um, so I'm kind of interested to look back into this a little bit and see where it's at. But um, this was the closest that they've ever come to me for like getting that equation where you had in this game, unless they've changed it, you had like one player that acted as the RTS player. He controlled all the AI units and issued quests. And the quests the AI could do or the player could run up and do. And when you completed the quest, you got XP and your character leveled up and you became a better fighter or shooter or warrior or whatever class you chose to be. Um, and so like and these games could last like, anywhere from like 20 minutes to like a couple few hours. Depending on what happened. Um it's definitely a really interesting, cool concept. I am looking forward to hopefully trying this out again, maybe, and seeing where it's at. But the point being is that there's almost a game for everybody, including like this bizarre savage game that like I thought had died years ago, to be perfectly frank. um, Speaking of weird gaming news, so you know who Lord British is, right?
Lord British. Is that the angry gamer?
No,
No, that's a different guy.
he's the guy who like headed the Ultima games and made the Ultima games what they are, and then did
Mhm.
Ultima Online 1 and 2 and all
Yeah.
that stuff. He has
Ultima is another series that was strongly in that middle category of games I really
yeah,
want to play, but I never will.
yeah. So he made Shroud of the Avatar, and it's been in Kickstarter a couple times. It was greenlit on Steam for the longest time, and it has some of the most mixed reviews of any game that I have ever seen. And it kind of seems like they're doing the whole like Star Citizen thing where they're like real money to buy like in-game plots and all this other stuff. Um I haven't looked too deeply into it recently, so don't take me at my word too much there. But effectively, it really seems like he's finally trying to make the game that he's always wanted to make, kind of, but also just trying to milk it for retirement money. It's really weird. Every time I've installed it and played it, the game has been so different that I was like, this isn't even the same game anymore.
Yeah.
Um, because the first time I started up, you like started out in this like typical like starter zone where you like run around and you fight some monsters and you kind of learn the game a little bit before you get released out to the overworld. And then the time after that, I started it, and you like started in the overworld for some reason, and you had to like figure out where to go from there, and it was just kind of bizarre. And then I feel like there was a third time, and the start was different again, and I don't really understand what's happening with it. But it's another one of those games where like I read about it and I look into it, and it looks and sounds like a game that would be really cool, and then I hop into it, and I'm like, what is even happening to me right
Yeah.
now? And then I invariably
Looks
stop
very
playing.
interesting.
Yeah. So, but Lord British, really interesting guy. Definitely a person that's a bit full of himself in some of his actions that he does. Like, apparently during one of the Kickstarters, he was selling like literally not vials, but the the slides of blood for like $400 a pop or something crazy.
That's funny. I mean, his
Yeah,
name is Lord British,
yeah.
so
But that's the name given to him by the community. Is kind of what's the like way back in the Ultima days, like in Ultima Online.
oh, okay.
Um, so interesting stuff. As he's the so in Ultima Online, when he first released Ultima Online, one of the things that he did, which was really cool for the time, was he made like a not like a full ecosystem, but like a kind of a ecosystem where like grass would grow, herbivores would spawn and eat the grass, and like they would grow and they would become more populous based on the amount of food available. And then as they became more populous, wolves and like carnivores would spawn and they would hunt the herbivores, right? So, but what ended up happening is the player base, because I don't know if how many players you've played with, but we're like locusts. They just came across the land like locusts and killed and
Yeah.
murdered and burned everything effectively. Um, because like like as a player, like I want my leather, so I'm gonna go out and kill a sheep for my leather now or my wool, and then oh the wolf spawn. Well, I'm gonna kill the wolf because I want my wolf skin. or
Yeah.
my claw or whatever, and then I need to chop down this tree because I need wood to build my house or armor or whatever, So because there was a full crafting system in that game, and so what ended up happening is you'd get these carnivores spawned that would just like wander into town and murder new players because they were
Yeah.
hungry. and,
That's so funny.
and they ended up having to redact that entire and like change that whole system. But it was a really interesting system for like an MMO, and I think it would be really cool if that was actually a system that could be done better slash well, like something to account for like people being people. Um, but yeah,
Well,
so
it's like when our network admin teacher, remember when that professor got into WoW and he spent a month mining, he was mining some material and then he went and crashed the market by
yeah,
dumping it all into the market to see how low he could get the price to go. And then he basically tanked the market and it just like like people are the part of the equation that you can't ever account for.
yeah, exactly. Oh, of course, Sonny, you're always welcome to hang out. Although we are probably going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes here.
The
I'm
next 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep these talks to like just a couple hours, and we're exactly at 2 hours almost. But anyway, um, but yeah, so no, it's the same thing. So it's really interesting. He's a really interesting fellow. His how he learned to code was like on one of the old like typewriter computers. Before they had the monitors, they had
Yeah.
the paper that would speed paper out of it, and like it
Yeah.
would draw or type on the paper as like what you would do to read out. So it took like 10 seconds to see a quote unquote screen, right? Um, and that's kind of where he got his beginnings, from my understanding. And it's because I'm watching a documentary on it that's on Netflix right now. Um, that is really interesting. What's that documentary called, Kitty? Anyway, it's on Netflix. It's about the video game industry, and it goes all the way from like its dark ages and various different like systems um and like genres and stuff, and goes through and talks to all these different people, and it's really interesting. I would definitely suggest watching it. um I think it's like Powered Up or something.
Okay. I love stuff like that.
No, that's not it. Is it video game documentary? Oh my god, seriously, I type in video game documentary and I get game design document.
At least you didn't get like Ready Player One or something.
um okay, we're just gonna keep narrowing down my adding words until I get what I want here. Yeah, it's High Score. It's High Score. That's what it's called. It's called High Score.
High score.
They have various episodes, and each episode tackles like a different like genre or a different like system or a different like era of gaming, and it's been really interesting to watch.
Say hi.
Kitty cat. Cat's like, what is even happening to me? Why are you shoving me towards that little tiny box for? Waka waka waka. Exactly. No, they go over how Pac-Man was created, actually, in the last one we watched just yesterday. Um, very interesting stuff. Um, but yeah, go watch it. It's a great little documentary. Also, this vampire game. Now that I'm actually on the website, because I like wanted to look at it earlier, but I forgot. Looks exactly like the book, pretty much,
Yeah.
as far as
And
like stuff.
it's they've promised that they're keeping it faithful to the first Bloodlines game, which is an amazing value because you can get it for like $5 on Steam.
Hmm.
And you get the community patch for it. And I don't graphics upgrade mods, but the graphics aren't that bad, really. Like for an old game. Like let me look it up really quick. So Bloodlines, like you go, like if I go to my community content, look at the screenshots, like you can see the graphics are not that bad. They're definitely in like the solid, like late 2000s, early 2010s like spectrum. like early PS3 style graphics, like early to like mid PS3.
Oh yeah, no, they're not that bad. Like I wouldn't call them exactly gorgeous anymore or anything.
Yeah,
But
but like it's definitely playable. Uh, but it's very faithful to the game system and just the like everything. Like you can't play the game the same way like twice. Like it unless you do literally the exact same everything. The game will be so massively different based off of like everything that you have. Like um just even like the class that you choose and stuff drastically changes how the entire game reacts with you, and like certain parts of the game aren't even available if you aren't the right class, and so it's pretty good.
yeah, yep. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of excited for that one. Um, any other last minute thoughts on our talks slash our thing that you really wanted to cover today that we didn't get to?
Not that I can think of. I think we kind of hit everything.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, last minute thought, I guess, would be like, there's tons and tons of games out there, guys. If you haven't found a game that makes you happy yet, you probably will if you just keep looking. Or you know what?
Yeah,
Go get a gaming license slash programming,
and
learn
make it.
in and make it. Because it's really not that
Make
hard
your
to
own
make.
game.
Yeah, it's really not that hard to make games anymore. Like if you have any amount of like programming knowledge, you can pretty much stumble your way through learning. Like even Python will get you started on the right track to learning like Cisco or C++ and stuff. So
Yeah.
um, there's lots of great tools, lots of great places to go, and maybe we can talk about something like that next time.
Yeah, and if you are ever looking for a specific game or something, like you know what you want to play, you just don't know the game exists, like feel free to let us know and we'll see if we can help you find it.
Yeah, we both have obnoxious game libraries and have played a large array of games. So,
How many games have you played, CJ? Like ballpark. How many games do you think you've played?
well, let's just try to average it out here, right? Like I'm um 30-ish years old and I've probably played at least um let's just say like 10 games a month, all right? So, and that accounts for like a couple few summers where I didn't actually have access to any technology really because I was living in the woods and was dirt broke and couldn't fix my computer. Um, um, so how many months is that? A lot. That's
It's a
what
lot of months.
that's 120 games a year over 30 years. So times that by 10 again, so you have 1,200 games, and now times that by or by 3, right? So 36 roughly. That's just a range guesstimate based on like because some months I'll play like 10 to 30 games.
Yeah.
Kind of, like not to say that I haven't had those months and years where like I've only played a small handful because I have. Like Final Fantasy 14 has definitely sucked up months and months of my life. And also probably saved my pocketbook lots of money.
Like 10, $15 a month versus like a couple hundred a month.
Yeah, exactly. Um and yeah, so and if you have found a game that you love and adore, awesome. I'm glad. Like the Call of Duty fans, I'm glad that you guys have that game because it's a great game. Not for me, but
Good for you, Call of Duty fans,
yeah,
CS:GO fans. Uh, for all you people who hate yourself, I'm glad that you have Dota 2 and League of Legends
right?
to both play.
Yeah, yep.
And
Or
you know,
Heroes of the Storm,
or
which
you're
basically got unsupported, but they're still coming out with new heroes anyway. I don't know. That's
yeah, they're coming out with
Blizzard.
new heroes, but Blizzard's like that game. Whoa, that we stopped developing on that ages ago.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
like, we're working on the future of gaming, which is mobile and card games.
you guys have a phone, right?
You guys have a phone. Where's your phone? What? You don't like play you don't want to play Red Dead Redemption 3 on your cell phone? What? What's wrong with you?
Right? Anyway,
So funny.
I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the Zerofox Cafe up. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for hanging out. And if this is your first time tuning in, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, or whatever is applicable. You can always find all our links and all our locations at streamerlinks.com/zerofoxcng. And we like your face. Also, I probably am going to go ahead and what time is it? 10:30, 10:40. Stream like an hour or so of Deep Rock because I want to play some Deep Rock.
Yeah,
So
get some deep rock in there. I'm
yeah,
gonna get some food.
do
So
it.
you deep rock by yourself.
I will. It's gonna be fantastic. Have a good night, guys, and have a good night, Jared.
Have a good one.